yourself one question, ladies and gentlemen. Have you ever wanted to slap a bird? The seed of him.
What the fuck? Who does that?
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Wild Hearts. Yes, indeed. This is a brand new, genuine Monster Hunter game that isn't a Monster Hunter game, but is the genre of Monster Hunter, a la Dauntless is by the same people who brought us the Togeden series, which is, by and large, a very competent and certainly fun Monster Hunter-esque game. Nowhere near as direct a one as what Wild Hearts is looking to be, but that, at least, is some pedigree. But we're getting ahead of ourselves then. What's actually going on? Well, we've just had the launch trailer to Wild Hearts, and let's go through it, because honestly, it's looking pretty exciting. There is a lot of cool concepts on display here, and certainly a very pretty world. So, we begin in said world, and it is Eastern themed, and that is apparent straight away. We get greeted with our first proper creature, which looks to be a kind of flower rat, which is interesting to say the least, and generally flora into animals seems to be a common theme for Wild Hearts, which is certainly different. Then we get a flaming rock gorilla, certainly a Garangomi face, but also looks very distinctly humanoid and very, very ready to rip you apart, as we get our first glimpse of the player character too in his glory. Definitely the kind of armor and equipment you would expect. Whether it's monster-based armor is a question we don't know the answer to, but he certainly does look cool. We also then get the kind of signature mechanic, as it were, at least it looks to be, constructing these towers out of a seed of creation and then using those towers to hunt the monster. So this initial one is like a little trampoline springboard to get you into the air to then perform a powerful aerial attack against our flaming rock gorilla, which is really neat as a concept, right? Like summoning hunting platform tools constructions out of nowhere and then engaging the monster with them, and as we'll see later, that kinda gets a little bit even more creative. But wait! Let's address the elephant in the room. EA. Now, let's not have any misinformation. This is part of EA Originals. They are not part of developing it. They are publishing it under the EA Originals banner in partnership with KT. And if you want a kind of idea of what that looks like, It Takes Two, one of the best games I have ever played, was created under the same circumstances. So although, yes, this has the EA name attached to it, it's not in the sense that makes you go, I'm going to have to pay per arrow I fire at the monsters. So that's at least heartening. Though that said, it is not impossible it gets monetized to all hell. It just is a lot less likely than a directly EA game, so certainly remain cautiously optimistic, which is indeed, I think, the distinct vibe of this trailer. We also get this adorable little plant rabbit thing, which looks fantastic. I love the almost tree coming out of its head, and then like a raspberry chipmunk looking thing. It's got like berries behind its ears. I love this kind of plant combo creature that seems to be the goal here. And all of these beautiful landscape shots are just that beautiful. Whether it'll be just a large open world that you explore and hunt in, or if it'll be zones or anything like that, no idea. It looks like it's leaning towards open world, but it certainly is a pretty game, and you can hunt with an umbrella. So really, what more are you wanting? This guy is the first actual hunter that interests me because he doesn't look like he's kind of just wearing generic Eastern armor. He looks like he's wearing armor that's from something, especially the glowing purple chest. That to me speaks of equipment that you can acquire or craft or however you get it into your hands that's themed upon something, probably, hopefully, that you can hunt, so that is promising. A lovely sneaky flower field, so it does look like crouching down in long stuff is going to be a mechanic, followed by Bulldromia, What the hell is this thing? It's a massive boar with like woodeny tusks, plants growing out of it everywhere, and possesses one of the wettest roars I've ever seen. But this is where we get our first proper look at some actual combat, though of course it's very rapid cut together. You gotta understand, the thing that makes Monster Hunter so good is it has the weighting and impact of combat perfect, and every Monster Hunter clone or inspired by game has failed to quite, well, get anywhere close to that. So while this combat might look good and flashy, I will very much reserve judgment until I can actually feel it for myself and see if it can actually produce any kind of oomph. That said, the vines sprouting out the ground at the command of this giant plant boar is exciting. It's a little bit more of the fantasy mystical powers type aesthetic as opposed to more realistic believable monsters, but it looks a colossal scale attack that's going to need some thinking and some dodging. We get a little bit more of plant rat. It's got a little bit of fire going to it, and indeed is also summoning plants on the fly to battle you with. And again, that animal combined with plant theme strikes true, as it does with this guy, Leaf Face Clap. And then, of course, the longsword is the main weapon that's being shown, because it has to be the longsword, because it's always the longsword, because why not the longsword? And the longsword is in a snowy area, taking on a icy-looking wolf. Now, we have some very cinematic dodges, which I imagine might be like an intro cutscene to first fighting this monster. I am not sure if this kind of falling down avalanche is going to be actual gameplay. If it is, it could be an environmental trap, much like the one on Hoarfrost Reach, but I just feel like, I mean, maybe it could just be a close-in camera on these dodge rolls. Maybe you can choose to roll left or right while on the floor. Maybe it is that precise in dodging monster attacks, but that one is certainly something I will wait to see. Then we get a proper look at this little seed of invention, summoning these towers. It's not like it's free building. It's not gone full Fortnite. From the looks of things, you choose a gadget tower and then build it. And that's it. It just summons it where it is in front of you, does the thing that you've chosen, and then you move on. You're not building walls and buildings and stuff like that. It basically is like if you could summon anywhere you wanted while hunting a monster, a ballista to jump on fire, and then it demolished, and then you move on with your day. In this case, it's a little bit of a glider to get over the sweeping attacks of the boar to land on its head, and that's kind of cool to see all this vertical elements to the hunting and combat, as well as the multi-eye on the boar. We also get the bird slapper device, which feels like a big concussion blow to buy you an opening, and we get a little bit of a look at some bow as a confirmed weapon too. The weapons themselves also seem to have some funkiness to them, this longsword splaying out with extra spikes, and lightning I imagine might be like a super mode or something you build up to, or a way that you could unleash some serious damage, but it very much seems like it's not a permanent thing. But yes, changing your katana into a lightning whip sword is certainly what I would consider a badass hunting weapon. We get a little bit more Ice Wolf action, and in this instance we get 3 hunters, so multiplayer. I would imagine this confirms, otherwise it would be a weird choice to show, so that's very, very exciting pro noobly. And then we have just a little bit more fighting with Mr. Wolf. We see some ice attacks coming out, pillars sprouting from the ground, a charge shot from the bow, the umbrella, which is a fantastic weapon choice again, that is very unique and different, and then one of our towers of creation summons an actual timed mine, which basically feels like placing a large barrel bomb, but then it goes off after itself after a couple seconds for a huge detonation on the monster. And you just see people generally sprouting these towers as you fight. In fact, if everyone coordinates and summons what is, let's be honest, a ballista binder tower at the same time, you can then rope down the monster, climb up the tower that fired the rope, and launch into it with an aerial attack. It feels like it's going to be very on the fly, very, you've got to think of the right tower for the right situation position for the right attack and then make it happen, and I can't deny that is certainly an exciting concept. And that's about it, other than, yes, there is a colossal scale creature, and it will be coming out in February of next year. So, yeah, firstly, what are your thoughts, everyone, on Wild Hearts? As I alluded to earlier, am firmly in camp cautiously optimistic and subtly excited. It's basically, yes, obviously I'm going to give it a go. I'm going to give it a play. It's a monster hunting game. It's fighting creatures with weapons. Obviously, I want to see how that goes. I'm excited the building isn't full, like, Fortnite, construct things, custom houses and stuff, because I think that would feel weird in a hunting environment. If you imagine them as just weapon towers to deploy when you need them, I think that's a fairly competent hook mechanic, and as long as it's not too clunky gameplay interrupting, we're all good. I think the world is obviously very pretty. I'm not a huge fan of the aesthetic of the setting, that's just a personal choice. I know a lot of people love that Eastern vibe, and I think the creature design, and this is one of the main things, is very neat. Obviously, it's big boar with plants in, but the general concept of combining plant with monster in this overgrown, literal wild nature, yeah, that does it for me. And I hope that further down the line there is some more unique creatures other than big boar or big bird. Although that said, I would love Monster Hunter to have some more literal birds as monsters, full on feathers, wings, you know, not bird wyvern. In any case, this lives or dies on the combat. If it's floaty, if it's spammy, if the hitboxes aren't clean, if it doesn't feel satisfying to dodge, well then it doesn't matter how many bells and whistles there are, it's just not going to work as a monster hunting game. So while everything visually looks cool, looks promising, looks pretty, all of that is meaningless if the combat doesn't have that satisfying weight, that satisfying purpose, that satisfying deliberate strategy to it that is a core, the core pillar of Monster Hunter that makes it a masterpiece. Ultimately, am I interested? Yes. Do I think it's going to be the next level evolution of hunting games? No. But I think there's every chance it's a solidly fun action RPG with cool creatures, and certainly entertaining for a little bit. More than that, I just want to see some proper gameplay so we can have a more well-rounded judgment. For now, though, as I said, let me know what you guys think. Like if you enjoyed this, subscribe, and hit the bell for more. Consider supporting the future of this channel on Patreon down below. And until we meet again, a goodbye. Actually, never mind, there's no great sword, I hate it.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.